See, that's why I needed it.
All right, live.
Yeah, we're live. This is YouTube live right now. So, yeah, I'm
rookie.
Breaking you open here. Let me find my notes. Can't ask you political questions. Right? This is for my blog, Live in Murfreesboro, or Live in Murfreesboro, depending on how you say it. So, and you've been working in Murfreesboro for a long time. You and I, we met.
What do you mean by a long time?
Well, you and I met when we were diplomats together.
Right.
How many years ago was that?
Probably 4.
Right? It feels like longer than that.
No, it does feel like longer than that, but I opened my business in 2012, so 6 years.
Okay, all right. I thought you'd been in business even longer.
Good.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. Well, look, hey guys, this is Gabe Frazier. I'm Gabe Fancher. You can imagine how confusing that gets sometimes,
Good
right?
luck.
So yeah.
Good luck keeping track.
Right. I offered him the chance to be the Gabe, right, and then I would be Gabriel, but we never could work out a deal on
since
that.
I've met 5 other Gabriels.
I know, right? Yeah,
It's getting out of control.
It really is. We need to form
Don't name
a
your
group.
kids Gabriel.
Yeah. So right, exactly. I grew up, never knew another Gabriel. Never ever. It turns out they were just down the road, right? You know. So.
Popular name back in the day.
Well, how did you get your name?
So my mother, her roommate in college, her name was Gabrielle.
Okay.
And so I'm named after a woman.
All right.
Proud of it.
There you go, right? Well, mine isn't much better. You know, people always say, what do they think when you're named Gabriel? They say, can you play the trumpet? When you going to blow your horn, right?
Yes. Yep.
They say, let's see, what else? What's the other thing I get all the time? If you're named after the angel, right? Right? And I tell them that it's hard to live up to, right?
Well, it's fair, especially for a guy like me.
Or me. Yeah, exactly, you know. But in all honesty, Gabe Kaplan, Welcome Back Cotter, that's where I got my name.
Right.
So
well, and my brother's name is Micah. So that's a very biblical name.
Sure.
Too. So that's a logical, if you know my family, it's a logical conclusion to think that it has roots there. And I'm sure that that's part of it.
It doesn't hurt.
They were missionaries before.
Oh, wow. Really?
So.
That's cool. Where'd they do their missionary work?
Yeah.
You don't know?
All over the place.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Montana, New Hampshire, all over.
Oh, my. Okay. That's wild.
I guess I'm not, still in the U.S. And then they didn't get out of hand.
You know, all right, yeah, that's all right. They need to hear the good news everywhere, man. Right now. So, all right. So, Gabe, tell me about your business. What do you do?
So, I'm in the insurance business, and I believe that potentially the most important person in your life on the worst day of your life. Got into the business after I'd sold a prior company, and really struggled at first, and struggled from the standpoint of, I think if you're going to do something, you're in the real estate business, so you need to be passionate about it.
Sure.
Right? You need to be able to get up every morning and be excited about what you're doing. And when I got into the business, I was an insurance consumer.
Right.
And inherently, when we think about insurance, it's one of the most frustrating things that we buy. Right?
Yeah, sure.
We spend a ton of money on it.
Right. And then you hope you never have to use it.
You hope you never have to use it, right? So, like, with that logic, you go, this is the stupidest business.
What a waste of money, right? I'm throwing money out.
Right. And so about 6 months in, I had a customer who was paying a little bit higher than what my average customer was.
Okay.
A couple $1,000s a year for their homeowner's insurance. And it wasn't a fancy home.
Okay.
$150,000 home. And
which goes for $300K now.
Well, it's
right,
it's still
all right, so it's still 150. Yeah.
It's gone.
Okay.
It burnt down.
Oh wow.
And so,
oh my.
Potentially a terrible, terrible situation, but potentially the best thing that ever happened to me.
Sure.
Because I'll never forget driving out to his house, Lampley Stand Road. Go check it out. There's a vacant lot out there now. Guy called me at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. He said, "Gabe, my house burned down last night." And my heart dropped. Up to that point, I was taking money from some folks.
Never paid anything out.
Other than like, hey, we replaced a bumper on a car or something like that. It just
sure.
I still had the mindset of a consumer.
Okay.
I did not realize how important what I did was until that day. Drive out to his house. I'm driving up his gravel driveway, and I mean, you see the pile of rubble.
Yeah, still smoking a bit.
I mean, there's like 1 2x4 sticking up, and it's charred.
Oh my!
And I'm sitting there talking with the guy. I'm there with him, my large loss property adjuster, and then a fire inspector.
Okay.
So anytime there's a total loss fire, one of the first things they're checking out is this potentially arson and hopefully not, but fraud is a big deal in the insurance world. So my customer's sitting there. The fire inspector, he's marching around in his boots. About 45 seconds later, he comes out of the house, and he's got the cover to the breaker panel.
Yeah.
You guys know what that looks like. It's a big metal box that you open up when one of your lights doesn't work. And he had that steel panel, and you had 2 arcs all the way through that panel that you could see. And he just said, "Found it." I'm like, "Dude, you've been marching around in there for 30 seconds. There's no way you know what happened." Catastrophic failure of the main line caused it to weld through the cover to this panel. It's pretty straightforward. It's electrical fire.
Burn, done. Yeah.
Meanwhile, my customer's sitting there. He's like, "Gabe, everybody I've talked to has told me how much of a nightmare this is going to be. Told me I'm going to have to fight with you guys for months and months on end. You're going to drag me through the whole process, and it's just going to take forever. What can I expect?" I'm sitting there, brand new, never had this situation. To be honest with you, I didn't underwrite it 100% correctly out of lack of experience. And I didn't know how to answer that question. My adjuster said, I'm gonna let you answer that question. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, we're going to write him a check today." And so,
wow.
Here we are 24 hours. The fire actually started at like 1:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. But 24 hours later, from my notice of the house burning down, we're there, and my adjuster's there stroking a check for $250,000, which is the first check we wrote. There were some additional checks.
Okay, right.
So I'm driving home that day, and that's the day that I believe I really got into the insurance business. That's the day that I thought, you know what, I can do this. That guy could have paid his premiums for 200 years before it was a bad deal for him.
Right.
And he's not going to live that long.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so for me, that's when I really started feeling like I had meaning in what I was doing. And it was more than just, hey, this is my next business. And I kind of, like most people do, got into the insurance business on accident. I sold a previous business, and it just kind of was there.
There's an opportunity, right?
Well, I don't have anything better to do.
Great company, right? Yeah.
And
but then you saw the benefit, the real benefit.
Yeah, and it that's the moment it became my passion.
I see.
And so, now it's easy for me to look somebody in the eye and go, "Hey, there's a couple different ways we can do this. Mm-hmm. There's cheap and there's right." And those two things, sometimes there's a big discrepancy there.
Sure.
And sometimes cheaper is better in our world, and the industry spends billions of dollars a year training us as consumers. Cheaper is better. But buried somewhere, page 28 of your policy, that matters, right?
Right.
When we buy insurance, we're buying a contract between you and the insurance company. And one of the things that makes it so frustrating for us as consumers is the insurance company is going to do exactly what that contract says.
Sure.
They're not going to do, well, but you're a nice guy, so we're gonna do this.
Right,
even though the contract
28. Yeah.
And to me, it's one of the hardest things, because it's one of the only things we spend as much money as we do that I can think of. I mean, you're spending thousands of dollars a year on this, and most of us have no idea what we're buying.
Sure.
We're just hoping for the best.
Right.
And then something bad happens, and you go, well, let's call our insurance company. Mm-hmm. And that's where me and my team, I think, add value. Right?
Okay.
We are going to walk folks through the process, make sure that they're making a smart insurance decision. See it every day. Client calls my office, and they're in a bad spot because their insurance company's dropping them because they called and asked questions a couple of times.
Wow.
And so you call and ask a question, they opened a claim that time. You call and ask a question, they open a claim that next thing you know, you've exceeded the threshold of what that company's going to tolerate.
Sure.
And they're going to go like, hey, we're going to non-renew you. You're asking, you're calling too much.
Right. That's so weird.
Yeah. And it's like, they could have paid out $0.
Right.
But the fact that you had 3 claims, hard and fast, that's the rules. They're going to non-renew that policy. And so I believe that my job is to protect my customers from falling into that trap.
Okay.
Right? You can call me and ask questions all day long. That doesn't mean you're open a claim.
Right. Sure.
And I think because it's such a unknown, this nobody reads their 50-page insurance policy. You get it in the mail, and today you probably get it in the email. You probably
right. You definitely don't read it.
And so my job is to know what's in there and know what's not in there, and help walk my customers through those situations.
Sure. So. That's awesome. So do you have a website, ways for people to get in contact with you?
MurfreesboroINS.com is my website that's kind of catered to Murfreesboro. This is a Murfreesboro podcast.
Sure,
I'll
right.
go with that one. And then farmers, as part of my contract with them, I get a website through them.
Okay.
farmersagent.com/G Frazier.
Okay.
MurfreesboroINS.com. It's a lot easier.
Way easier to find. Okay. Great. I'll put that in the show notes there. Let's see. You got any exciting plans about your business? What do you got planned?
Man, I think we're so fortunate to live in Rutherford County right now.
Sure.
It's 2018, and we're the top 10 fastest growing counties
on every list
in the country.
Right.
And so as a business owner, that's such a blessing. It's such a wonderful thing. And so, on some level, I'm kind of holding on for the ride and trying to grow my business as quickly as the marketplace wants it to grow.
Sure.
Which is, quite honestly, is probably a little bit faster than I can realistically grow. But I think you look at that and you go, man, my life is so easy because of that.
Sure.
Because we've got the massive amount of growth here in Rutherford County.
Yeah. What if you're in an area that was shrinking, right? I mean,
right. Yeah. Like
totally different
my
story.
was in Detroit, right? And I don't feel like I've heard that that's making a little bit of a comeback, but
or Memphis, right down the road.
Right.
They're
they don't benefit from that as much as we do. One of the big things I'm about is, because I'm thankful for that, I spend a lot of time, energy, money trying to give back to make our community a better place.
Sure.
With growth comes problems.
Of course.
We said we weren't going to get into politics, but here we go. And inherently, some of those problems, you and I are in line on this, but some of those problems are the government's responsibility, but then a lot of them really probably are not.
Right.
And
they get stuck with it sometimes.
Blamed for it, maybe.
Right.
And so one of the cool things about where we live is that there are dozens, maybe hundreds of really phenomenal organizations right here that are committed to making this area of our community better.
Right.
Or this area of our community better.
What are some of your favorites? I know there's a lot. Just give me 2 or 3.
Loaded question. I mean, and
then you got to leave somebody out.
This is going to be one that's probably going to be controversial, and somebody's going to get upset about it. But we'll go anyway. I do a lot of work with United Way, and so politically charged organization.
Sure.
On a lot of. But one of the things I love about them is that they're good stewards of the money that they bring in, and they bring in a lot of money.
They do.
We talk about hundreds of organizations. Half of those may not exist without funding from the United Way. And so I think they're wonderful, because if you have a nonprofit and you're focused on homelessness in Rutherford County, okay, great. That's, one of their things is financial mobility, right? If we get you from homeless to, all right, I got a place to live, to I've got a decent income, to now I'm a contributing member of society, right?
Right.
That social mobility changes the macroeconomics of the community. And so they're big on that. They're big on financial stability. They're big on education. They're big on health. 3 biggies, right? We're probably living in a state that's, from an obesity standpoint, massive. I mean, huge problem here.
Sure.
Along with that, diabetes, which is crazy to me how common that has come, where you and I, as kids, you barely ever heard of it. It was weird. Like, oh, Aunt Susie has diabetes. I wonder what that is.
Right.
And now it's like every third person you run into is
struggling with it or dealing with it.
Insulin, right?
Yeah.
So, I like them, and that's painting with a very broad brush.
Sure.
They're not going to. Big misconception out there is like, hey, I need help, I should call United Way. Well, that's not how they function, right? They're flowing money back into the community through all of these other wonderful organizations that already exist.
Right. They do have a number that you can call for help, and then they send you to the right spot, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
211 from any phone, and that is a organization that United Way helps with.
Okay.
But a lot of their partner agencies, right? So if you need help paying your electric bill or buying groceries, you call 211. They'll get you connected with an organization in your area.
Oh,
that's Tennessee, I think. I don't know if that's a nationwide thing, but for sure in Tennessee. Big fan of indoor athletics. I don't know if you've run across them, but they're taking, for those of you who are watching that aren't in Murfreesboro, we've got a corridor of our town where there's some very affordable motels that are not the nicest places, but you've got a lot of kids.
Sure.
And that's what they call home, is this hotel that is, probably got cockroaches and water damage and all kinds of problems. And indoor athletics is pulling those kids out of that environment, even for a short period of time, helping them excel in school.
Wow.
Giving them an outlet from getting some exercise.
Yeah, I didn't even know they existed.
Wonderful organization, and really a big fan of theirs. Interfaith Dental. You hear stories from them, and they're in Nashville too, but something you never think about, right? If I had no teeth, would I be comfortable getting on this podcast with you? Or if my teeth were all rotted out?
Probably not.
Or would I be so self-conscious about that? And that extends to financial mobility too.
Sure.
Back to that, right?
Yeah.
If I'm too ashamed of my appearance to go on a job interview, what does that do to my life, right? And so, and it compounds both ways, right?
Of course.
If I'm afraid to go on a job interview, I'm not going to get that job to be able to pay to get my teeth fixed. Well, if I don't get my teeth fixed, I'm not going to, and it's, right. But you hear stories from folks who have engaged with that organization and had thousands, tens of thousands of dollars of dental work in some cases, and how it's changed their lives. And I just think that is such a cool thing. And it's one of those things, until I got involved with that organization, didn't really know, like, it never occurred to me that that might be a problem.
Sure.
So just to name a couple, I mean, I could.
Especially here in Murfreesboro, we're very blessed with lots of people who.
So many good ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
So many good ones.
A lot of great neighbors here. What is something most people don't know about you?
So I'm going to use my go-to for all the icebreaker sessions.
Okay.
And this is, at this point, not the case, because a lot of people know it and they fantasize about this. My degree is in opera.
Okay.
I have a music degree, and my degree's in opera. And so a lot of the folks that know that, well, I mean, at some point there's going to be a big fundraiser, and it's going to be "Come Here, Gabe, Sing," because the demand's going to be so high.
Right.
And
people
I've
waiting
just kind
for
of kept it under wraps.
So you don't sing anywhere? Not in church?
Don't sing in the shower?
Not even in the shower?
No, man. I'm just, retired.
Did you sing to get the degree?
I did sing to get the degree.
Okay.
So was involved with, and it kind of an interesting story. How did I end up in business? So as a 18-year-old, 17-year-old who had everything figured out, like most of us do at that age, I was passionate about that, right? And I liked performing. And that foundation, I think, has done a lot of good for me, right? Being in front of people and performing translates into getting in front of a bunch of people and speaking, coming on a podcast in front of a camera and speaking, and not being completely out of your element. Being in the limelight. You guys should see this. I mean, he's got a professional setup here. There's lights.
Got to get good lighting, man. So important, you know.
But so that foundation's been great. But what I realized is I'll never forget sitting in that world. If you're into opera, the big thing is the Metropolitan Opera. New York City, you're actually going to be able to make a wage where you can survive.
Sure.
And I would go to those auditions because we would hold them at University of Kentucky, not Western Kentucky, the real school in Kentucky. Shot at Frazier over here. We would host these regionals, and and I would watch some of the grad students that I was kind of working with that were in the same program as, and I mean, like those guys and girls were so good.
Wow.
Like I'm going,
blowing
that person's way better than I am.
Oh no.
Right.
No.
And then I would watch them go up against
even
the
better.
other folks from the region.
Right.
And they would just get their rear end handed to them.
Wow.
And I'm going, holy cow. Now I'm a big believer in the 10,000 hour rule.
Okay.
Give credit to whoever you want. You know, to quote, somebody, Gladwell, you know, brought that to the forefront and made it popular, right? He didn't make that crap up. So, but I believe if you put forth effort towards anything and it's consistent, targeted effort in the right direction, just about anybody can succeed at just about anything.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not going to play in the NFL unless you are athletically gifted, or the NBA. Sure. Probably the same thing in the opera world.
Probably harder to get to that 10,000 hour mark, though. You probably run out of time, I would imagine.
Sure.
To be in the NFL, right? So.
And you're going to, I mean, with anything, it's going to take time.
Sure.
And so I was looking at that, and I was best thing I did for myself in college. Kids, listen up, go get a job in sales. I know it's a dirty word. Sales job, it's terrible. Do it. It will change your life. It's the best thing I ever did. Yeah. And I remember sitting in the interview for that job while I was in college, going like, man, I got $2.45 in my pocket. I can buy like 3 more packs of ramen noodles.
Right.
And then I don't know what after that. And so I got offered the job, and I'm sitting in training and going like, no, I didn't think I was signing up for this. And I almost walked out, but I didn't. I learned so much.
What were you selling?
I was selling rainbow vacuums. So
wow. Yeah.
This is, for those of you who don't know, it's a $2,000 vacuum. I still own one today, so I believe in the product. But as a 21-year-old college kid who had $2.45 to my name, and probably didn't care that much about how clean my house was, it forced me to learn the sales process. It forced me to learn to walk up to a complete stranger and start talking to them. It forced me to learn to have a good handshake. It forced me to learn all of these wonderful skills that apply to life.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people just take for granted.
Sure.
Right. The ones that have, the people that have them take them for granted.
Right. And most important, I learned discipline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not gonna sell a $2,000 vacuum to everybody talk to. It's not. But having that discipline and that, you get a no, move on to the next one.
Right.
And it certainly applies in my business.
Do you still remember the pitch or anything?
Dude, I could probably break one.
You'd probably sell it right now.
Yeah. Now, however, I would probably do it differently than knowing what I know today. I would do things a little bit differently.
Do you think you'd be a better vacuum salesman than you were back then?
Without question.
No doubt.
I would kill it. I could sell so many vacuums right now. I'm certainly not passionate about that, so I'm not
making not at this time. Yeah.
But long tangent there. I was doing that and graduating around the same time.
Okay.
And it was kind of this, split in the road. Okay, do I want to continue to pursue this career in music,
mm-hmm.
knowing that I'm still going to have that $2.40 in my pocket for God knows how long, or I'm having some success over here in the sales thing.
Sure.
I was doing pretty well
right.
there. Do I want to continue down that road? And so, logic starts to kick in at some point. And you go,
hunger.
That's a long road.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, things start becoming clear. You start performing. You start getting a feel for what that reality looks like.
I see.
Right? It's not just show up and perform and have fun. It's like you're putting in just like any other job.
Right. Lots
10 hours of practice a day leading up to that performance to get to the point where you can put that on and execute it well. And so that's how I got started in business, really.
Okay.
Was kind of that crossroads and going, you know what, let's go down this road. intellectually, this makes a lot more sense. It's going to be a lot easier for me to make a living, support a family doing this than
Sure.
the
Yeah.
music thing.
So let's see here. Why do you think it's important for people to shop local? You know this would be a test, did you?
No, I mean, to me, it's like that's almost so ingrained in me.
Right.
I don't even think about it. So
Sure.
That's the long pause there. To me, I'm going to go on a tangent. We'll come back to an actual answer to that question. He just interviewed a politician, so I'm sure this is very similar. Hey, you asked me a question. I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about.
That's right.
I think one of the things that made our country great was the ability, no matter what your background, where you came from, our forefathers did a great job of creating an environment that was conducive to you going and actually producing something,
Mm-hmm.
right? Actually starting something out of nothing and building that. And every big business you can think of, right? I'll throw out a few. Bill Gates. At one point, he was in a garage,
Right.
Tinkering with computers. Amazon.
Yeah.
Bezos was, knocking door to door, going like, "Hey, if I could deliver something, losing money on every deal."
Right.
Because he believes so much in his. So let's rewind 40 years for Microsoft. Goodness gracious, 35. All right, that's better. Or 15 years for Amazon and go, hey, what if I chose not to support local? What if that wasn't important to me?
Right.
I was gonna go a different direction. I don't care about the local. How does that change? I mean, everybody watching this right now probably spends an obscene amount of money on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
So if nobody had ever bought into, hey, here's this local guy and he wants to deliver stuff to my house. Okay, cool, let's try that. We wouldn't have that today.
Right.
So every business starts at an organic grassroots level. And to me, that's a good, thermometer, right?
Sure.
Will the people in my own community support me and support what I'm doing? And if no, you probably don't need to try to go national.
Right. Yeah.
If you can't own your community. But I also believe, I heard, I'll give credit to Peter Demas, who's a local business owner here in Murfreesboro, owns a restaurant. I heard him say once, talking about some of his competitors, and we're staring out the window at a Hooters and a ex-Logan's Roadhouse, which are both large national chains. But what his point was, hey, every one of these businesses is local, right?
Right.
Hooters is employing 20 people that live right here in Rutherford.
That's true.
That's probably a low number. 30, 40 people that live right here in Rutherford County. And so I look at that and I don't think shop local, let's go to Hooters or let's go to Logan's Roadhouse. But at the end of the day, all of that matters.
Sure.
Right? Looping back around to Amazon, what do they have? Employing a few hundred people out there.
Right.
The Nissan plant up in Smyrna, 10,000 employees there. And that's an international corporation. It's not even a U.S. corporation. But in today's world, global economics, that all matters, right?
Yeah.
Nissan, the plant, contributes a lot of resources to make sure we have a bridge over Broad.
Sure.
Right. Their tax was heftier than yours and mine.
That's right.
So that was a really non-answer to your question, but
you ready to run for office?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Vote for Gabe.
Go home and watch.
I don't know what I'm running for, but vote for Gabe.
Yeah. Go home and watch the interview I did with Sparks and see how he was able to dance around some stuff.
I'm sure.
Do you have any advice for anybody out there that's an entrepreneur that's getting started? What would you tell somebody right now? Fail a lot, quickly, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well,
have you failed? What have you failed at?
Oh my gosh, I fail every day.
Yeah.
To me, this is the number one thing that stops people from doing something great. is I might fail. What if it doesn't work out? That fear, which is the strongest motivator we as humans, I believe, encounter. But that what if, right? Who cares? What if you fail? Good, get up and try again.
Right.
And you notice I didn't have to think about that answer. I think it's so important, and really any business. I'll go back to the two examples we just gave. I bet there were a million days that Jeff Bezos